Chapter 17. Integration into the Void. In his study of the Psychology of Religion, 1935, Dr. Cornelius Van Til called attention to the difference between the Christian and the modern view of man and his psychology. Quote, "The activity by which personality realizes itself is, to be sure, very genuine and significant, but it is genuine and significant only because it acts before the background of the plan of God. The integration of personality, that is, the constant readjustment of the particular and the universal within itself, and the constant readjustment of the whole personality as an individual to the universal found in the universe beyond itself, takes place by a more ultimate and constant readjustment of the individual together with his surroundings to God, who is the absolute particular and the absolute universal combined in one ultimate personality. The integration of personality, according to the Christian view, is an integration toward, and by virtue of, an ultimate self-sufficient personality." End quote. In contrast with this, the modern concept of the integration of personality is an integration into the void. We can best appreciate this if we note that the concept of purpose itself has been completely internalized. End quote. This emphasis in humanistic evolutionary psychology is not on knowing man in terms of the image of God in him, but on looking backward on the evolutionary ladder. The child is thus the key to the adult. Primitive man determines modern man, and primordial man is to be understood in terms of his animal inheritance. We have an integration downward into the void. Various modern psychologies have differing views of man, but they agree on man's evolutionary and primitive past as the key to his present. Thus, Sigmund Freud found his explanation in the belief, as set forth by Robertson Smith, that man's basic nature, as determined by his primordial ancestors, is the will to kill the father, to copulate with the mother and sisters, and to eat the father. But God created the first man as a full-grown man. His problem is not a primitive origin, but sin. He is responsible to God, but the human being of evolution is responsible to nothing and to no one. In Van Til's words, quote, "The real reason why modern psychology has left no room for responsibility is found in the fact that it has taken the whole of the human personality in all its aspects, self-conscious and subconscious, and immersed it in an ultimate metaphysical void. Man cannot be responsible to the void. Hence, the only way in which man can establish human responsibility is by showing the ultimate irrationalism of all non-theistic thought, of which modern psychology is but a particular manifestation. In that way, we place man self-consciously and subconsciously in every aspect of his person before the personality of God. Man is responsible in the whole of his personality, but only if he is the creature of God. Man, before God, is the only alternative to man in the world." End quote. Modern, irresponsible and lawless man is the inevitable product of modern evolutionary thought. If man is to be explained in terms of an animal past, then man, with more intelligence, will far exceed animals in his rapacity, because he believes he knows that there is nothing that can restrain him. Humanistic religions, Van Til added, become means of adjustment and integration into the void. Because of man's kinetic wish that there be no God, he prefers the void to God and God's holy purpose. He dedicates himself to the destruction of all meaning from above. Reverence for nature replaces reverence for God. One result has been Gaia worship, the uncritical worship of the natural world. To cite one example, Alan S. Miller, retired academic coordinator and senior lecturer in the Department of Conservation and Resource Studies, the University of California at Berkeley, is the author of the book Gaia Connections, An Introduction to Ecology, Ecoethics and Economics. For him, quote, ecological health is an uniquely feminist issue, end quote. As a result, he sees as, quote, a minimal set of affirmations, end quote, the following, quote, 1. There are important and necessary connections between the oppression and exploitation of women and the oppression and exploitation of nature. 2. An understanding and comprehension of the nature of these connections is very much necessary to any adequate understanding of the double oppression around us of women and of nature. 3. All feminist theory and practice must therefore include an ecological perspective to be whole. 4. Any solution to ecological problems, it follows, must include a feminist perspective in order to comprehend the problem, end quote. Smith's position is more logical than that of many who disagree with them. The further from nature, the less ethical man becomes, so that a patriarchal class is seen as an oppressing class. Smith bases ethics on, quote, the entire world of nature, end quote, rather than, quote, simply on human beings, end quote. Implicit in Gaia worship is the belief that women are more primitive and natural and therefore closer to nature than men, especially patriarchal Christian men. The ethics of Gaia worship are usually anti-Christian and affirmative of moral practices forbidden in God's law. This integration downward into the void has not been restricted to feminism and environmentalism. Modern art was a leader in this effort. It was marked early in the 20th century to a hostility to order and to form. It deconstructed both man and nature, and it approved of a disintegration of norms. Telling indictments of modern art have been written in great numbers, as, for example, William Snaith's The Irresponsible Arts, 1964. Their weakness is that they bypass the revolt against God, which is a revolt against purpose, patterns and meaning in every sphere. Alan Levy wrote about The Culture Vultures, 1968. But in a world without God, what's wrong with vultures? They're an aspect of nature. The student revolution of the 1960s has been accurately described by Peter Collier and David Horowitz in The Destructive Generation, 1989. Many of the students were not only destructive but childish. They took a delight in urinating and defecating publicly, using obscene language and copulating on campus grounds. This was an aspect of their integration downward into the void. Having rejected authority from above, that of God, parents, community, police, university officials, and others, they affirmed in practice an affirmation of things below. The criminal became even a folk hero to some. The willful blindness to anything but power from below marked more than students. Paul Davies and John Gribben in The Matter Myth, 1992, give an excellent account of the death of the long-established premises of materialism. They write at times as though the only logical alternative to the old science is creationism, but they specifically reject it. They recognize that, quote, all science is founded on the assumption that the physical world is ordered, end quote. Physics is the most powerful expression of this order. Quote, nobody knows where these laws come from, nor why they operate universally and unfailingly, end quote. In spite of this, Davies and Gribben insist of, quote, seeing, end quote, that the earth may be, quote, in some sense a simple living organism, end quote, Gaia. The word atom may be no more than a code word rather than, quote, an independent part of reality, end quote, but Gaia is more real than the atom. The authors even raise in passing a question about heliocentricity, 19 following, but they do not consider God and creationism as an option. Their source is the void. An environmentalist has observed that, as he looks at nature and what man has done to it, he is ashamed of being a man. This is a new definition of sin and a logical one. Sin is any offence against whatever is ultimate in our universe of thought. If God is ultimate, then sin is any want of conformity to the law of God, 1 John 3:4. If nature is ultimate, then sin is any violation of that world of nature. For Albert Schweitzer, this meant that he did not kill insects and he picked up worms after a rain to replace them on the earth, lest they be stepped on in the pathways. It also troubled his conscience to be killing germs as a doctor. With his, quote, reverence for life, end quote, sin was an offence against worms, insects, any and every form of life. Every religion has its own concept of ultimacy, and it defines sin in terms of it. The growing Sadean faith of our time goes beyond such Eastern cults as the Jains to assert a most radical contempt of man in the name of worshipping nature. The record of paganism isn't a good one. Hinduism's reverence for animal life has gone hand in hand with the caste system. Indifference to suffering and mass killings such as the many millions killed when India gained, quote-unquote, freedom after World War II. The rise of the Sadean faith in the West has been accompanied by the phenomenal increase in all kinds of crimes. Crimes of violence against people can perhaps be explained by the hatred of many against mankind as the ostensibly evil animal raping the earth. Then why do so many set fire to forests? Is not Gaia worship to some degree not only a hatred of man but also of life? Evolution was once seen as identical with progress, so that man was the high point of all being. That faith in an inevitable progress is now waning, if not gone. Sade rejected God and therefore life. His demand was for a universal death, and the same death wish is present in his heirs and followers. Proverbs 8:35-36 tells us, quote, For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favour of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death.